time create a better environment for work and for challenging development. But those are the requirements, I believe, of a successful change.
Thank you. Our next question, I believe, is in English. It's from Brazil. It is from the O Serviço Nacional de Aprendizagem Comercial in the city of Porto Alegre in the state of Rio Grande do Sul in Brazil.
Hello? Hello, Alan. Hi. Here in Brazil, we have many new organizations. And how we can make plans and actions about vision if you don't have one history in high and low periods? How we can make plans about vision?
Dr. Bishop, did you hear that question?
Yes, I believe the question was how to create a vision in a new organization. Well, in many ways, that's easier than creating one in an existing organization. New organizations do not have the burdens of the past, the traditions and the practices that Tom referred to that they have to unlearn in order to become good. So if I understood the question correctly, new organizations can strike out on a new path, fresh and hopeful, towards the development of their vision without having to fight against much of the traditional aspects of the past. Tom, do you have a comment on that?
Just as I was thinking, the process that I had articulated talked about a reviewing of the past. One of the advantages of creating a new company is that, in fact, you don't have that past. So I agree very much with Peter. And so what I'm thinking is that the people who are creating the new company, however, have had a great deal of experience, or potentially experiences, in many other aspects of their lives and with other businesses. And so there's a great deal of learning that they have based on those experiences that, in fact, compensate for some of the past that you are looking at. So what are the ideas that have worked very well for you in the past, and what are the things that get you excited? And take advantage of those as you even create the new group.
Our next question is also in English. It is from Panama. It is from the Panama Canal Commission in Panama City.
Okay, my question is, how do you get operations personnel to find out what the vision is if the administration is not forthcoming?
Dr. Bishop?
Yes, that is a difficult problem because, as Tom pointed out, everyone in the organization at some level has to support and believe in the vision. And if there is a major element, if the administration believes the vision and can't enroll the rest of the organization in it, it will be very difficult to move ahead because those are the people who actually do the work of the organization. By the same token, if the workers have a vision of something that they want to create and the administration is dead set against it, then that also makes it difficult, if not impossible, to move ahead. So both groups have to begin the shared vision. I believe that's where the dialogue starts, however. The dialogue starts about what it is we want to achieve with this organization and where we can go in the future. And it's very difficult for people not to respond to that question positively. Even people who may be against the vision as it's articulated right now, you can ask, well, what's your vision? What would you rather believe? And that's where the dialogue begins to move towards something that everyone can agree with.
Thank you. Our next question is from site number 677, is in the Dominican Republic. It is the Centro de Gestión e Investigación in the city of Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic.
My question is, when is the right time to change the vision? Because sometimes there is a tradition that it's every 5 years that we should revise it and change it. And how can we do it? How can we really acquire success and have the personnel, the workers, feel for that and join the bandwagon?
Dr. Hoffmann?
Okay, a vision is only a vision if you don't know how to get there. So currently, if we think about, we've moved the organization to the point where we're connected, we know how to arrive at the conclusion, etc. We've already arrived at our vision. So I would say that it's not a 3-year, it's not a calendar event. That when you decide to embark on creating a new vision, is when you have arrived at the one that you currently have defined and you know how to get there, and you create the next step. There could also be other factors that I'm sure Peter would allude to in terms of what's going on in the marketplace, what's happening with the workforce, how are we engaging them, and I think the market ought to be a significant driver in this process as well. So are our products and our services actually leading the market, or are we following the market? Are our people engaged in helping us lead the market? And in those instances, you can get some, what I'll call traction or grounding in the vision and whether or not you need to revise it and move forward.
Dr. Bishop, would you add to that?
Yes, I agree with that completely. It's not something that can be done on a regular timetable. It should be reviewed periodically, perhaps even every year or certainly every 2 or 3 years. But if you've achieved it, it's time for a new one. And if the world has changed, it may be time for a new one because there may be new opportunities out there that even are more appealing and more attractive than the current vision offers.
Thank you. Our next question is from Mexico. It is from the Secretario de Educación Pública y Cultural del Estado in the state of Sinaloa, Mexico.
Good morning. We're talking to you from the Secretary of Public Education in Mexico, Sinaloa. We have to take into account our values as human beings. And if you don't apply that, we don't attract anything. What do you think of intuitive conscience as an instrument to perceive and to construct a vision that is really meaningful, and the important role that that plays in the education, or what the educational institutions have to play in order to create and instill this conscience and intuitive awareness in the students from early on, from even childhood? What comments do you have in this respect?
Dr. Bishop, you want to start that?
Yes, I believe that, as I said before, we should be asking our children to articulate their visions even in their earliest years. That visioning is a human process. Unfortunately, our schools are, as they should be to some extent, dedicated to transmitting knowledge, but not giving students the opportunity to articulate themselves and their own values and their creativity. And in that sense, I believe that we could grow up an adult generation if we started early enough, asking students and asking our children what it is that they want from life, what their values are, and that become a regular part of the curriculum. I'm sure Dr. Frantz has some comments on that as well.
Yeah, a vision is intuitive. You can't have a logical vision because you're talking about the future. So you've got to go outside of what you know logically. The vision that a person has is also something that changes continuously with time and experience. And there are techniques that I will talk about in the next segment that you could do in 5 or 10 minutes a day to keep your vision lively and consistent with your life.
Thank you. Our next question, and the last question for this session and answer period, is from Argentina. It is from Coca-Cola FEMSA in Buenos Aires, in la Argentina.
Everybody, the question is trying to follow the concepts presented by Dr. Bishop and Hoffmann is the following. If when you visualize the changes and the speed of them, the future will probably lead us into taking decisions very fast, very rapidly, and we will have information techniques and communication technologies that are going to help us, and those are going to be our tools. I'd like to know what the impact of this will be in the teamwork and delegation, how to delegate, because it is very likely that all these things will be done and carried out from our homes, and it's going to be very much individualized. So where does the teamwork apply here? How do we deal with this?
Dr. Bishop?
It's a balance of both face-to-face, which is our traditional means of communication, and the use of the internet and the communications technology that allow us to communicate across. One is not going to take the place of the other. The remote communication aids and helps us communicate things which are rather work-oriented, but real visioning and real dialogue, myself, and I could be wrong in the future, is still going to take place in some kind of face-to-face environment.
Thank you for your questions. Let us begin with Module 3, in which Dr. Frantz will discuss the primary source of productivity being our knowledge and creativity. He'll also describe the 4 quadrants of our functioning brain.
Thank you. Let me start by stating why intuition is especially important today. Economic activity is highly dependent upon information, knowledge, and the creative ways we use both. The sources of information, knowledge, creativity, insight, and vision are thus also of extreme importance. In addition, economic systems are undergoing enormous change. With it, there has arisen a need to sort out the direction and meaning of these changes and one's place within these changes. The facts are these. First, a great deal of what we know is not through logic. Rather, they are known intuitively. Second, every person carries within them an intuitive source of useful information and the intuitive ability for a much greater amount of insight and vision than we've previously believed. Third, the primary source of economic growth is productivity. The primary source of productivity is our knowledge and creativity. Intuition is thus a prime input into economic growth. In Intuition, the New Frontier in Management, the authors reported the results of a survey on the beliefs and uses of intuition among 1,312 managers in 9 countries. Almost 80% of managers admit to using intuition and believe that it contributes to corporate success. Over 70% believe that intuition is relevant to research and development, long-term strategy and planning, marketing, and human resource development. For the United States managers, the figure is 80%. So what is intuition? It is often defined as knowing without knowing how you know. Other descriptions and metaphors include gut feeling, educated hunch, a sixth sense, the eureka or the aha experience, subconscious thinking, common sense, and knowing without the process of conscious reasoning. The common element in all these descriptions is that intuition is not a conscious, analytical, logical, sequential, step-by-step, and reasoned process of decision-making. Intuitions arise as the result of a non-observable internal process. The steps that are taken to arrive at an intuition are not known, so they can't be verbalized to another person. How do you know what your intuition is telling you? I don't know how I know is a common response to this question. Intuitive thinking is thus effortless because intuitions flow into your conscious mind. Intuitions do not involve choosing, arranging, organizing, or manipulating facts with the intention of arriving at a conclusion which logically flows from the data. Intuitions are feelings which are amorphous, fleeting, and almost imperceptible. They may be experienced as hunches, bodily sensations, and sudden realizations. The resulting intuition is rational, but not through analytical thinking. Intuition is professional judgment or expert decision-making. This means that intuition is the result of unconscious and rapid pattern recognition or identifying the key features of the environment, while intuition is the result of pattern recognition. Drawing conscious inferences of these patterns is the result of analytical skills. Thus, intuition and reason are complementary components of effective decision-making systems. Intuition is a part of us which is activated whenever our demand for knowledge exceeds our supply. Intuition exists within this gap or deficit between the demand and the supply of knowledge. Intuition fills in or reduces this gap. Intuition is not a physical thing like an apple or a zebra. Intuition is not located in only one particular place. Intuition can appear anywhere and at any time. It can be felt in the gut, a gut feeling, or any part of the body. Intuition is a gap filler, experienced in as many ways as there are people experiencing it. Peter Senge, the author of The Fifth Discipline, said, we have to stop trying to figure out what to do by looking at what we have done. And we have to start really looking into our hearts and seeing what we truly believe to be possible. That's literally what it means to have a vision-led change process. The source of energy comes from your deep belief that something is possible, and it might be something that has never ever been produced on a large scale. So all your historical evidence says no, 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 but your heart or your intuition says yes. The use of intuition in business is not new, and examples abound. Here I want to provide you with a few. The cover of the January 13th issue of Forbes magazine read, Company of the Year, Chrysler, smart, disciplined, intuitive. The pages of Entrepreneur magazine, the Harvard Business Review, Fortune, Investor's Business Daily, and other similar publications have extolled the virtues of intuition. From these publications come the conclusions that intuition is reliable, neither irrational nor a random process, a skill of knowing, the ability to discern possibilities and see potential, useful when a problem exists, used to define a problem, used to check the accuracy of analytical thinking, and is complementary with analytical thinking. Some of the world's greatest scientists and artists recognize its value. Jonas Salk wrote, "Only by cultivating and refining the processes of intuition and reason complementarily can we achieve the wisdom we seek. Let wisdom be your guide with reason at your side." Albert Einstein wrote that truth in physical matters can of course never be founded on mathematical and logical considerations alone. There is no logical path leading to these laws. They can be reached only by intuition. The history of the arts and sciences abound in other examples. Let's look now at the relationship between consciousness and the brain. Intuition and analytical thinking are outputs of the brain. That is, the brain can both intuit and analyze, which means that so can we. Intuition is believed to be a function of the right hemisphere of the neocortex and perhaps the right hemisphere of the limbic system as well. By contrast, analytical thinking, logic, reason is believed to be a function of the neocortex's left hemisphere and the left hemisphere of the limbic system. So the brain's hemispheres operate from a division of function or division of labor principle. Being a brain function, intuition is available to everyone, everywhere. The human brain weighs 3 pounds and contains 180 billion neurons whose interconnections have been estimated to exceed the number of atoms in the known universe. These interconnections carry information throughout the brain and between the brain and the body. One way to view these interconnections is to see the brain as a tree with many branches leading to many other branches and so on. With so many interconnections comes the possibility for so much creativity. The neocortex is the youngest part of our brain, or the youngest part of our 3 brains. The 2 hemispheres of the neocortex are connected by the corpus callosum and its 200 to 300 million axonic fibers. These interconnections allow us to combine logic and intuition as the need arises. The limbic system is the next oldest of our brains, located beneath the neocortex and containing 2 hemispheres connected to each other by the hippocampal commissure. The limbic system is essential in memory and hence learning. It is where both pleasure and pain and all the emotions are located. It is the storehouse of emotional memories, and it regulates our emotions, including our sexual desires. The limbic system, being the seat of pleasure and pain, has a primary role in economic behavior. These 2 brains thus have 4 quadrants. The upper left will refer to the left hemisphere of the neocortex. The lower left refers to the left hemisphere of the limbic system. The lower right refers to the right hemisphere of the limbic system. Finally, the upper right refers to the right hemisphere of the neocortex. First, let's look at the upper left part of the brain. This area is the master of logic and reason. The upper left is an analytical linear thinker, solving problems logically based on analyzing facts, using reason or rational thought and math. It thinks abstractly, and it is good at theorizing. The upper left avoids ambiguity, emotion, feeling, and intuition. Intuition is considered not to be real, but merely luck or chance. The upper left develops theories and prefers thinking new ideas rather than figuring out how to turn them into reality. The upper left's reliance on logic is both a strength and a weakness. Weakness because what's not logical is not real. The upper left hemisphere alone would not be either an inventor or an entrepreneur. The lower left part of the brain, like the upper left, avoids ambiguity, change, emotion, feeling, and intuition. It prefers linear or logical thinking and likes to control its environment. Unlike the upper left, the lower left is action-oriented, rule-oriented, likes procedures which worked in the past and will in the future. The lower left prefers to do one thing at a time and to do it well. The lower left loves details, values, safety, predictability, order, and neatness. It is a stabilizing force in any organization. The lower left tests the theories created by the upper left. It creates and operates the organizations created by upper left ideas. The lower right part of the brain is service and people-oriented, and it makes connections with people easily. It is intuitive, empathetic, sensitive and receptive, emotional and spiritual, nurturing, supportive, and body sensing or kinesthetic. The lower right views reality as consisting of emotional energy. The lower right respects group intelligence and finds the past to be a source of emotional value and inspiration. The lower right finds it difficult to verbalize what it is experiencing or wants to say. It is not great at time, money, facts, or goals. Lower right-oriented people may thus be seen as non-dynamic, undisciplined, or flaky. Let's look now at the upper right. The upper right portion of the brain thrives on possibility, originality, incongruity, and experience. It communicates using metaphors. Like the lower right, it is intuitive. Unlike the lower right, it is not people-oriented. It uses intuition not primarily in interpersonal relations, but rather for generating new, perhaps offbeat, as yet unheard of ideas, inventions, and innovations, and organizations. The upper right is not good with deadlines. It fears structure, which is what the lower left thrives on, because it may stop the flow of ideas and energy. It seems oblivious to risk. It uses fantasy and imagination, and it almost lives into the future. Now that we've examined the four parts of the brain and understand how and what parts of the brain use intuition, let's see how we can use and enhance our intuition. We all know much more than we know we know. A quick reaction to many questions is to say, I don't really know enough to answer that. Why don't you ask an expert? Just having lived is enough for most of us. We absorb fantastic amounts of information. We don't know it's in there. We certainly don't know how to get it out from its hiding places. The purpose of these exercises is to reveal in a simple way how much knowledge we all have. The first exercise is called mind mapping. It is a learning tool, a memory aid, and much more. You'll need a large piece of paper for this exercise, 18 by 24 inches or larger. However large the paper you use, you'll find by the end that you wish it were bigger. You could use a pen or a pencil. Many people find it more fun to use crayons or colored pencils. We'll do a mind map on the concept of productivity. I've already done the mind map to save on a very scarce resource today, time. But we'll go through it step by step, and I'll show you each of my entries. First, write the word productivity in the center of the page. What are the first 4 or 5 words that come to mind when you think of this place, when you think of productivity? Write those on the lines radiating out from your central word. Do this as a rapid stream of consciousness. My words are greatness, work, education, and technology. For each of these words, draw 2 lines that extend out from them. Look at each of those 4 words. For each one, what 2 words come rapidly to mind? Take no more than about 5 seconds per word. Put your new words on those lines. My associations for greatness are heart and genius. Associated with work are fun and interpersonal relations. Associated with education are schooling and open mind. Associated with technology are mind and effort. We now have 12 associated words. For every word at the edge, draw 2 more lines extending further out. Rapidly associate 2 new words to fill each of those lines. For heart, I have passion and love of knowledge. For genius, effort and open-mindedness. For fun, love of creating and love of people. For interpersonal relations, common commitments and respect for individual contributions. For schooling, focus and applying knowledge. For open mind, commitments and anything is possible. For effort, focused and big picture. For mind, well-schooled and well-prepared. We now have 28 associations. This is a simple mind map. More generally, you can do the same with words, pictures, and key phrases. Expand your mind map in whatever fashion and to whatever size helps you express your inner knowing, which is your intuition. Could you keep expanding this map with new associations? It would be easy to fill up the page. For every new word you add, you could rapidly jot down words it brings to mind. You could even fill up an entire wall this way. What you're doing is expanding your conscious awareness. You are revealing to your conscious mind something it normally never sees. These chains of words are some of your subconscious associations to the key word. They unconsciously influence your feelings and reactions when you hear or see the key word. The only difference now is that you can see this chain. So we can all view this as an expansion of consciousness. You can create a group mind map. Have 1 or more colleagues do the same exercise. When everyone finishes, compare your maps. You'll find that there are many differences in your maps, but also similarities. Take 1 or more of the similarities and do a group mind map on each of them. Short of telepathy, it's about as close as we can get to making a communal brain. Action-centered mind maps are very helpful. Let's say you are doing a mind map on productivity. Then after the first 4 words of the mind map have been written, let every other entry in the map be an activity which would enhance productivity in your organization. A second exercise utilizes the fact that even the smallest, most common thing you see and use in your daily life can be useful in using your intuition. Let's say that we want to improve productivity. How can we use our intuition to do that? Well, look around your immediate environment, and as you begin, say to yourself that you want to improve productivity. Choose 4 things in your environment. Do not choose them because you think that it's related to productivity. Rather, as you see them, you will simply say to yourself, I choose this. I have chosen 4 things. A floppy disk, a business card, a pen, and my glasses. I'm going to show you how to combine this with the 4 quadrants of the brain. The right hemisphere of the neocortex, the upper right, gives us a big picture, an overview, a deeper meaning of things. Arbitrarily pick one of the 4 things to represent the big picture or the deeper meaning of enhancing productivity in your organizations. I chose my glasses. What does my glasses mean to me about productivity improvement? My quick reaction is that ultimately I want to have a better vision of everything. I want to be more productive if it provides me with resources so I have a better view of my life. Otherwise, productivity means that I'm a rat running faster in a maze. The right hemisphere of the limbic system is about interpersonal relations. So I arbitrarily picked my pen to represent the interpersonal aspect of improving productivity. My pen is used to express myself through writing. So it means that I must remind myself that everyone, not only Ph.D.s, have valuable contributions to make in enhancing productivity and must be allowed to express themselves and be heard. The left hemisphere of the limbic system focuses on the step-by-step procedures leading to success. What procedures must be followed to enhance productivity? I arbitrarily chose the business card to represent this aspect of productivity improvement. The business card has only a few basic pieces of information on it: name, address, email, fax, cell phone numbers. Enhancing productivity will be easiest if the program is kept to a few basic principles, just like the few things on the card. These basic principles could include clarifying our commitments and the obstacles preventing us from focusing on our commitments. Now, you should allow the left hemisphere of the limbic system to actually create step-by-step procedures or programs for doing this. The left hemisphere of the neocortex specializes in reason and facts to think through and analyze a situation. Think of this as the bottom line. What's the tangible goal? I chose the floppy disk. The floppy disk contains the capacity to hold a lot of information in a very small space, which is portable and durable. The floppy disk is amazingly efficient. That's the goal. An efficient, flexible, long-lasting organization which ultimately provides us with a better vision of our life and life in general. Now, allow the left hemisphere of the neocortex the freedom to gather the facts and apply reason for achieving this. Now, this exercise works for any project or situation and with any 4 things you choose. The key to this exercise, as with many other exercises you do intuitively, is not to think too much. Simply look at the